So good to have you here today.
Oh, hey, Christine. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. I love having you on the show. Is this the second time or third time?
I think it's second, but it could be the third.
Awesome. Super excited. Today, I really want to talk about your journey as a successful entrepreneur. Because I feel like I've been invested in it since the very beginning. And so, you started out when your boys were like really little, and then Paul came into the business, and, you've made it look super easy, super smooth, super seamless. But I know that that's not the way it really is. So, and you've had all this success. So how do you stay positive and motivated as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. And yeah, it hasn't always been smooth sailing. I sort of imagine, that analogy of like the duck that's like smoothly sailing on the pond, but like underwater's like kicking like mad. And
yes.
That's kind of how I think I've always just sort of, run our business. It's just like, we got to move forward. We got to move ahead. And I think even in the beginning, even I look back in the very beginning, it's like, I didn't even have like a grand plan. I had a big idea and I was really passionate about what I thought I could do and the value I could bring, but I didn't necessarily have all my ducks in a row, so to speak. And I'm just rolling with this analogy today, but but I think a lot of it was just like, keep moving forward. And I used to always say like, I may not be the smartest person in the room, but I'm going to outwork anybody. And so I think that's a big part of it. You don't always have all the answers, but just trying to keep moving forward. And I know in the very beginning, we needed my income. We still need our income, of course. So it's like failure was not an option. And so just, continuing to move forward and just trying to also have a spirit of gratefulness. Like things happen, things get frustrating. Like anybody who's had a business knows, but in the overall scheme of things, it's like, gosh, like I'm so grateful for where I am today and the freedom that allows me with our boys and our family. And so just trying to keep that, positivity in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I love that. I think gratitude is a really important piece of, staying positive. And actually, Jesse, our editor, and I were talking beforehand about how, what you put out, you always get back. And so having that mindset of abundance is really important. So how do you what are some of the key strategies you use to ensure that you're consistently growing?
So I think there's a couple things. I think just being intentional about it is a big thing. I think it's really easy to kind of get into this mindset where you're always like, serving other people and I'm pouring into the people, which is great. That's a huge part of what we do with our academy and a lot of our events and speaking and things like that. But I know like the times I felt a little stressed or a little burnt out, generally it's because I haven't been like pouring back into myself, So I've just tried to be a little bit more intentional, make time for reading or listening to podcasts and not even necessarily business related. Sometimes I'll listen to, crime podcasts or, things that might be political that are really interesting to me, like just things outside of just sort of the world of real estate and social media, which is where a lot of my world tends to be. And making time for events. Like I know you and I went to a great event a few months back, and a lot of it just comes into intentionality, I think, and making that a priority. And I would also say trying to set some boundaries. I've done this for years, and just setting some boundaries about what I say yes to, what I say no to, when I work, when I don't work, when do I do Zooms, when do I not do Zooms, when do I travel, not travel. And sometimes that means saying no to business, but I think overall it's just helped in a huge way for my mental health and longevity, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And if you have, a healthy mind and a healthy mindset and a, healthy body and sort of I know we don't like the word balance, but there is something to that effect. Like if you have that, then you have that to continue to give to your business.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly.
How do you manage the pressure of, because sometimes I look at you and I'm like, oh my God, she is constantly on the edge of what's happening with social media. Social media has I just look at how it's changed since you started your business 12 years ago, right?
Right,
Is
right.
it 12 years or 14?
Yeah, it'll be 12 this October. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I mean, how do you handle the pressure of having to be that person who is always on top of the latest technology, the latest algorithm, the latest, trend?
Yeah. I think there's a couple things. I think, first of all, I'm kind of a geek. And so I actually love finding out about all the new stuff. And that has not changed. Like I have a lot of different people I follow in my feeds. I'm reading different email newsletters. Like back in the day, it was like a lot of blogs. Like I've always just sort of enjoyed like, ooh, what's next? Look at this new shiny feature. Like I don't get, just my personality, I don't get overwhelmed by it. I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Like, what is that? And yes, every once in a while, I'm like, what is that? Do we really need that? What is that new tool? So I think I've always sort of balanced like a little bit of like healthy skepticism with like just natural curiosity with things. And I also strongly believe that we don't need to jump on every new bandwagon. And I feel like I've always preached that. I've always believed in that. Just because it's a new app or a new social media platform, not everybody has to be on it. We don't have to jump on every new trend. Yeah. And so that has come out a lot in my teaching. And I think that's given people a lot of peace of mind going, okay, I don't have to worry about every single new thing. Right. Cool. Katie's taking care of it. And if it's important, she's going to talk about it.
Yes. Oh my God, Katie. Because I, as you were talking, I wrote down 3 things. One is Periscope, one is TikTok, and one is Threads. Because when in each of those three things came out, I remember thinking like, oh my God, I got to talk to Katie. I got to talk to Katie and understand like what it's about, how it's important, how it's going to add value. Do I need to be on it? Like just what you're saying, like having, a person like yourself and experts knowing that you're checking it out and you're going to kind of very relatably tell us what we need to know about it and then allow us to choose, I think is really important.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I think about that too. And with a lot of what I teach, right? You and I both work with a lot of realtors, and I think that's the difference between just like giving out more information versus like sharing your expertise and your opinion and realizing that there's value in that. So it's not just, I don't know, for me, it's like 3 more tips for Instagram, but not just tips. It's okay, well, how can this make sense for your business? Or here's something I recommend you lean into, So I've tried to make that a priority.
I love that. So let's go back to, you talked about podcasts and books and things like that. What actually do you follow or listen to stay informed? And maybe not just social media, but maybe technology, maybe real estate, maybe business in general. Like, what are the things that you listen to or read that help you stay informed and current?
So I definitely listen to a lot of things. If you were to look at my like podcast or Audible library, it's I'm sure if anyone's working behind the scenes on the algorithm, they're wondering like, who is this woman? Because it's a little bit all over the map. I would say business wise, I have an Inman subscription. I used to work at Inman, so full disclosure there, but I'm a paid member of Inman because I do think Inman is kind of like the Wall Street Journal for real estate. It's always like what's happening. And even though I'm not in the, sort of real estate transaction world of real estate, I like to know what's happening with NAR, what's happening with leadership and who's moving where. So I always, following that, seeing what they're doing, go and speak at a lot of their events. Same thing with NAR. I follow what's happening, NAR nationally. In terms of just, other things like social media, I've been following Social Media Examiner for years. I've gone to their events, spoken at their events. And I love Social Media Examiner talks about social media just outside of real estate. It's sort of the, what's happening as an industry as whole at a whole. And then I also like to look at other industries. Like I love to travel. I love wine. And so I will often look at, what are travel agents doing? What's the travel industry doing? What are different, luxury brands in the wine industry doing? And so I think from almost a content perspective and just seeing how they are positioning experiences, right? Yes. Versus like a transaction. I just find that so fascinating. I've always really been interested in that. So because I think so much of content and social media isn't just the words we say, but the emotions, the storytelling,
Yes.
evoking something, whether it's something funny or inspiring or introspective. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of different
I
things.
love that. I love how you talk about experience, because I think, it's easy to say, like, when you're looking at the travel industry, like, they create experiences,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a hotel or a location or an activity when you're traveling, it is creating ultimately an experience. When you buy a luxury car, there's an experience around that.
Sure.
What do you think is the experience that you, Katie Lance, provide to your clients?
That's a good question. I hope the experience is that I am helping people fight the overwhelm that I think a lot of agents feel. I One of my favorite compliments is when someone emails me or they come up to me after an event and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I was like, all this stuff, kind of stresses me out, but like after listening to you, I feel like I could do it."
Yeah.
And that's just that's very motivating. And I hope that's always what I try to evoke in any of my training or anything that we do with our academy or our events is hopefully provide that experience of giving a lot of knowledge, giving a lot of expertise, but again, kind of that peace of mind of you don't have to do it all. Here's a simple strategy,
Yes.
whether you're a beginner, whether you're more, advanced, and just kind of fighting that overwhelm.
Yeah.
Especially since I know, our part of the real estate world is just a small part. I mean, a realtor, one of the reasons I love realtors is they're entrepreneurial, they're wearing 27 different hats. Like, so my part of it is just like a very small slice of the pie, right? So if I can help them, again, sort of fight the overwhelm, give them some peace of mind, then hopefully we've won in that
Yeah.
regard.
I love it. I think you do deliver that experience. And I would add on top of that, that you deliver just an essence of relatability. You
Mm,
know, people
thank
feel
you.
like, oh yeah, she's a mom, I'm a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like she, gets sick sometimes, I get sick sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, honesty is the best policy. Like, that's Katie Lance. I mean, I think there's a relatability and a trust that comes with the experience that people have with you, for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So getting back to the overwhelm that agents have, um, and let's face it, like, it's totally understandable that they're overwhelmed by social media because, like you said, it's a small piece of their overall pie.
Mm-hmm.
They're the accountant, they're the rainmaker, they're the marketer, they're, the transaction coordinator. They're doing so many jobs.
Yeah.
What, maybe is one piece of advice that you always give them to help them just sort of wrangle with that feeling of overwhelm when it comes to social media?
I think one thing to really kind of lean into is when it comes to social media, they don't necessarily need to focus on the content part of it. I know content's important and I teach a lot about content, but one thing that I think anybody could do right now is go into social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and take a few minutes and be a noticer.
Yeah.
And, you and I have talked about this a lot, like this idea of just going through and taking a few minutes and seeing what are people posting and leaving something meaningful. And I always tell people meaningful comments, at least 4 words, right?
Yeah.
So instead of great pic or wow, or a bunch of emojis, write something meaningful. You might say, "Oh, wow, that's a great picture, Christine. Where did you take that?" Or, "Happy birthday, Joe. Like, what do you have fun going on today?"
Yeah.
And something as simple as that, it doesn't feel like a lot, but that is how you build relationships with social media. And so if someone's feeling overwhelmed and they're not sure what to post or where to go, like just spend a few minutes, engaging with what other people are posting, because what someone else is posting, it's important to them, whether it's a funny
Yeah.
meme or a video or whatever it might be, picture
Yeah.
their kids at their first day of school. And it's amazing how just you writing 2 sentences can be like, oh, like that makes you stand out. I always say there's a sea of sameness, right?
Yeah.
In real
Yeah.
estate marketing. So it just helps you stand out. And so that's one small thing. It's amazing what 5 or 10 minutes a day for 5 days in a row, 52 weeks out of the year. That's a big deal. It's almost
Yeah.
the equivalent of like picking up the phone and making a few calls every single day or writing a few thank you notes. Like it's a relationship builder / lead generator /
Yeah.
just good human thing to do.
Yeah.
And And it doesn't take a whole lot of time. I will often look at my clock and go, okay, I've got 7 minutes. Like,
Yes.
what can I do in that amount of time?
Yes. Yes. I mean, so important and easy.
And easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
And just not, it's not anxiety provoking, you know, like I know so many of us just worry about like, oh, I don't want to pick up the phone. What if they don't answer? Or what if they're not responsive when they answer? What if they don't want to hear from me? I mean, there's all that anxiety that you can just put to rest with the phone and just very easily, you know, give a meaningful response. It does. It goes a long way for sure.
And especially for anybody, I talk to a lot of realtors who are like very much people, or they say, I'm a people person. They love relationships. Like that's one of the reasons why they got into real estate. So if anyone's listening and you are that kind of person, like this is your jam, right? Like you obviously building relationships online is not the same as face-to-face, but it can bridge the gap and it can just help you scale keeping in touch with people over the course of time. Just that top of mind.
Yes.
It's like these little, digital breadcrumbs that you're leaving.
100%. 100%. Okay. So let's talk about social media for a second. Like looking ahead, what are some of the trends you anticipate happening with social media?
So it's kind of interesting. I was looking at a bunch of stats recently about what's happening. And, I think video, is still a big conversation. I mean, it's been a conversation for years, but it's also interesting how, like, especially on Instagram's changing all the time, which can drive you bananas. But it feels like reels aren't getting as much traction as maybe they once were. And so I think Instagram's been kind of under a lot of heat of just promoting reels and get on video. And everyone who loved Instagram because of photos was like, wait, what about the photos? What about, just graphics? So I think it's kind of swung the other way. We're seeing a lot of folks get a lot of traction on photos, on graphics, and sometimes not as much on reels. And who knows? I think it's going to swing back and forth. I think the biggest thing is to have a balance of content. I don't think that's going to go out of style anytime soon. So having a balance between like content that's professional, content that's promotional around listings or open houses, but also balancing and making sure you're putting content out that's highly savable. So things that are really helpful, informative tips, but also shareable. So shareable is a big metric that Meta's been talking a lot about. And that's tricky, right? How do you create content that's shareable? Because often a shareable piece of content isn't promotional. It's not promoting you. So that's where I think having a balance of content is key. So I've been trying to post occasionally things that are funny or inspiring or just easy to consume, easy that someone would go, oh my gosh, I got to share that. Right. So that I think is certainly a big trend that we're seeing is highly, highly shareable content. The other thing I would say really quick too, is I think written content is making a comeback, which I'm kind of excited about. So longer form content.
Really?
I've been seeing a lot of, I know for myself, I've been consuming more longer form content. We see platforms like Substack really kind of taking off, where people are sort of getting back into blogging on their own websites, writing articles on LinkedIn. I know you do a lot of that as I do. So, it's just funny. It's like fashion. It's like, what's in fashion this week? What swings back? What it comes
totally
back?
Is.
So
it totally is. And I love like the wide leg bell bottoms are back. I'm just
right. Exactly. All the 90s stuff is back. I'm like, I'm so there for it. I'm like, where are my butterfly clips? I got to start using those.
Oh my God. I love it. Butterfly clips. Oh my God. I totally forgot about those.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Last serious question. What are you working on right now? Like what's next for Katie Lance? What are you working on?
Oh goodness. Well, you're going to laugh. So I feel like I'm at this place in my life where I'm like, in my late 40s and my kids are teenagers, like we're this interesting time in life. And I feel like I'm in this balance of wanting to do really big things. Like I've got lots of, sort of big, hairy, audacious things that we're thinking about. Right. At the same time, I'm like, I just want to take a nap. I would imagine a lot of people probably feel that way. Like you're sort of at this midpoint in your life of like, oh, you do big things. And I just want to relax for a minute.
Yeah.
So that's just
Oh
very
my.
candid. I don't know if that's the right answer on the
So
podcast.
talk about
But
Katie Lance being relatable. Like that, like nothing says it more than that statement right there.
well, thank you. It's the truth. It's absolutely the truth.
Girlfriend, it totally is.
Yeah.
Uh, well, on that note, I know there are a couple of things you have going on this fall.
Yes.
One of them is that you and I are actually co-hosting an event out here in the greater Boston market on September 25th. We have 2 spots left. It's a full day of Christine and Katie talking about social media and business planning and brand archetyping, which is going to be just so fun. So we have that. And then in November, I'm going to see you again because you're having your mastermind.
Yes.
Okay, talk a little bit about that. I think you have a couple spots open for that too, right?
Yeah, we still have a few spots open for that. So I'm super excited. I mean, as I always say, as much as I love online and social media, there's just nothing like face to face, right? There's just nothing like that in real life time. And yeah, super excited about our event together in September. That's going to be so fun. Just a 1-day small intensive event, just the 2 of us. It's going to be great. And our mastermind, I'm super excited about it. It's November 18th, 19th, and the 20th. It's at the beautiful Bellagio in Las Vegas. Christine's one of our keynote speakers. We're super excited about it. And it's now that I'm saying this, it's either our 6th or 7th year doing our mastermind. It's something we've been doing every year for quite some time. Small group. We keep it to about 15 or 20 people. We bring in some fantastic speakers like Christine. We help you map out your whole, 12-month 2025 plan. I can't believe I'm saying 2025 already.
I know.
But we're super excited. So yeah, we do have a few spots left. And for anyone listening, they can go to katielance.com/mastermind to get more information.
Awesome. And we'll definitely put that in the show notes as well. So as we look to wrap up, what are 3 things you would like our community to take away from today?
Love that. All right. 3 things to take away. So I guess number 1, be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. Mm-hmm. So lean into that. Be yourself. Be authentic. I always say, don't be all things to all people. I think that's important. I think the second thing is, don't worry about all the new changes. Yes, there are changes with social media, but I would recommend that you just, focus on the fact that real estate's a relationship business. If you're a realtor, if you're a business owner, same thing. Generally speaking, owning a business is all about relationships. So focus on that. Focus on how you can put some value out in your community. Have a strategy. Be intentional, as we always say. Yeah. And probably the last one is just have fun. If you're not having fun in your business, then maybe it's time to make a change, and that's okay. That's I know you and I have talked about this also. It's okay to make some pivots, and it's okay to say no to some things. And I think our dear friend Deborah Trapin, I think she's the one who's coined this phrase of like, if it's not a hell yes, it might be a hell no.
Yeah, exactly.
Or heck yes or heck no.
Yeah, exactly.
So
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Love it. Katie, thank you so much for being with us today. Where can people find you?
Thank you, Christine. So the best way is just my website. Go to katielance.com, KATIELANCE.com. Sign up for our email newsletter. It's where we have all kinds of tips and tricks and ideas that we send out all the time. And you can always connect with me on social media. I'm at Katie Lance, basically everywhere on the socials. So send me a DM.
Awesome. Katie, thank you so much. This has been completely invaluable. There are so many nuggets in our conversation today. And for all of you who are listening, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. We would love that. And rate and review. Subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And until next time, everyone have a great day. Thanks so much, everyone. Ciao.